Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server, and it's time to have a look at some of the new changes that have come to it over the last day. As Gaijin has continued to do, they just keep updating it, so we're just going to keep talking about all of the different things that keep changing. So enjoy the video, and as always, if you do, make sure to subscribe and also like it. Let's get into it. So the first vehicle that has been changed and updated is of course the Mosquito B Mark 16. This is now a squadron vehicle, which is what it was supposed to be previously, but unfortunately it was labeled as a premium, but now it's rightly a squadron vehicle. Still has the talisman thing, but don't worry, I'm sure they'll fix that. It's also a rank 3. At battle rating 3.0. They've added the camo to it, which looks really nice, and also everything else is pretty much the same. The bomb loads are the same, and it does have access to the cookie, and then also some of the other ones. Maybe it will also get some of the other ordnance. We'll see what kind of goes on with it. So yeah, it just looks a lot nicer now, and generally is much more ready to go, and I'm looking forward to this one. It'll be really cool using it in ground and having a bit of fun with it. The Hawk 200 RDA hasn't changed though. This is basically the same as it was previously. No massive changes to it. So yeah, we're still waiting to see what goes on with this one. A vehicle that has changed though is the F-16AM, which is coming in for Norway in the Swedish tech tree. If you just need a reminder, it's coming after the AGS-37, which you can see here. And now they've actually added all of its armaments in. So you can see all of the general stuff that it's going to get access to in the next major update. So you have AGM-65s, you have of course the AIM-120, the AIM-9M, the Sniper Pod, which is probably the best in the game, and then a bunch of GPUs too. So just to kind of show you in the drop-down list what this looks like, you can see that it can carry 6 AIM-120Bs and also 6 AIM-9Ms. One of the problems is that they all use the same pylons, so you're probably going to have to pick and choose what you want to bring. It can also bring 6 Mavericks, which is really cool, and also it has all of the general bombs. So you have the paveways with the thermal pod, dumb bombs, incendiaries, drag bombs, and also you have the JDAM ERs with the good old glide setup. And then also, one of the cool things to make a return is the Penguin. So this vehicle actually gets access to the Penguin missile, which is the anti-ship missile, which is IR guided. So there you go. That was only available on that event vehicle, but now they've actually made it back. You have some rockets, you also have some more glide bombs, and obviously the AGM-65Gs too. So yeah, you just have a bunch of really cool stuff, which is nice to see. The next change that has happened is for the BV-238. You may have remembered back in, well, maybe like a year or two ago now, they started updating a lot of flight models to all be classed as the new system. Well, when it comes to the BV-238, they've just updated its FM format to that system too, so this one will probably act a little bit differently. The other thing is they've also added EFS to it, so if one of your engines sets on fire, you can actually put out the fire and stay going. Now, this is actually useful on the BV-238 because it has 6 of them, and it can actually run even on a small amount of engines, which makes it a lot easier to be able to go around. They've also changed a few other vehicles, so the D.XXIII, they've added something ridiculous to it, and then also they've updated something else about it. So right now, with the D.XXIII, its airspawn speed was 380 kilometers an hour, which is pretty standard since its max speed is 535. But now, in its airspawn speed, it's now 3,000 kilometers an hour. So obviously, that is a bit of an overstretch. I don't think it should be spawning in the air at 3,000 kilometers an hour. I'm sure they'll fix it as it goes along. Another thing they've also changed is the pilot is now a French pilot. I know it's hard to see, but it's a French World War II pilot in there. And they've also updated the cockpit. So basically, it just looks a lot nicer now. And you can see all of the differences with it. You can see the hand movement, and then also all of the different dials that are around for the vehicle itself. So yeah, they've done a really good job of making this look absolutely beautiful. The cockpits right now of the new vehicles are just really, really, really nice. So a huge kind of big ups to whoever is making them. It's amazing how detailed they get over the general years. So another thing to also add is the AH-56A. So this is coming in as a squadron vehicle. It's another squadron vehicle. You got the C-13 Tour, you have the Mosquito, and also the AH-56 again. So the AH-56, the flight model has completely changed. So just everything that you've seen on the dev server, once again, before this video, just understand that this vehicle feels very different from what it did before. They've changed pretty much everything in terms of how it's set up. So just take that into account with the vehicle. Now, the next vehicle is the Tornado IDS SLE. This is obviously the new German Tornado coming in. They've also changed the RWR on this one. Instead of it being the ARI 23284, it is now the BOW21. You can see it has a Moore system, and it also has 100 max track targets instead of 8, and also has the SAM ID. So it could track 100. It could track 100 threats at the same time, which is just insane when you actually think about it. Another vehicle that also got some cockpit changes is the Su-30MK2, and also the RWR changed. It's now, instead of the L15030S, it is the L15014. They are exactly the same, so there's no differences between them, but it's just a name change. Usually, you know, they do this with exported stuff, right? Like the fact that the R77 is known as the RVV instead. But here is what the cockpit looks like of this vehicle. Don't know if I kind of showed it before, but it looks really cool. The actual multifunction displays are also huge. Might be a little bit too big, but yeah, they fully modeled this thing. And for a premium vehicle, it just looks absolutely beautiful. You can also see the kind of digital display at the front. Has a lot of information on it, which looks really awesome as well. And yeah, it has, of course, the HMD, which is really nice too. So the vehicle is looking really nice in terms of its aesthetics, which is generally quite good. Another change that they've also made to the Fokker D.XXIII is its guns. So you can finally see they've actually switched around the guns. The 7.92s are near the center, and then the 13.2s are actually in the kind of, I suppose you'd class them as like the wing areas, but also they've changed the amount of rounds. So the 13.2s now have 500 rounds per gun, where before they only had 200, and the 7.92mm Brownings have 700 rounds instead of 500 now. So basically you have way more ammunition, and also they're in the right place. So I think that's actually really cool in terms of it. The Tiger IIs have also got their updated armor finally. So one of the things that is obviously very important about the Tiger II is these vehicles have been updated in terms of their model. I'll just put it on a camo, which actually works. There you go. So the fact that they have an updated model also means that they get an updated armor scheme. So first of all, they have physical tracks. So those now are basically kind of like volumetric. So depending on where you hit them will actually affect how much armor that they have. Also, the hull sides are no longer volumetric, so they're just a flat 80mm across the place. The manlet is also not volumetric, so it's just 185mm, which is sat there. And then also the loader's hatch, instead of it being only 15mm, they've actually upped it to 40mm. So it will be less of a weak point on the vehicle, so you can't pen through it with like 50 cals and stuff like that. So you won't actually be able to pen through this top of the turret with lower caliber guns, which is fantastic. I think you can still kind of hit this area because there's a few like little pieces, 10mm here, but generally you won't be able to go through the turret. So that's huge for the vehicle itself. Also, the add-on armor, they removed some of it, and also they lowered its HP, but generally should be fine too. All of the changes they did to the Tiger II-H, they've also done to the SLE Tiger, which shouldn't be too surprising. Now, there's also been a huge change, a massive change, which should make a lot of British players happy. British players are eating very good this update. The Hawk 200s, by the way, got their brake parachute and also are doing a wheelie, so there you go. But also, an engine got changed, and this is awesome. So all of the Challengers, the Mark 1s, and also Mark 2s, and the Chieftain, the good old Khalid, because it has the same engine, they all got buffed. So you can see on the Challenger 2-2F here, it has now 1,314 horsepower on the Perkins CV-12-6A instead of the 1,217 horsepower. So basically they added 100 horsepower to this vehicle, which is really, really cool, because one of the biggest issues with the Challengers is their mobility. And this affects absolutely all of them. You can see with the Challenger 1s, they all have the 1300, and then also the higher ones have it too if you have them actually spaded. So that's just awesome. It's just going to make a huge difference to them, going to make them a lot better to play, and generally, more akin to what you see around the place. This also affects the Shear 2, since once again, that is a Challenger platform. So really nice to see. They've also improved the CM34, which is the Chinese vehicle that you can see here. They're continuously upgrading its armor. So they've added a bunch of like 10mm pieces around the place, which should work. So the right turret cheek internal armor has been removed, but also they added 10mm around the breech. So they are just continuously just adding and taking little bits away as they go on this vehicle. So don't be too surprised if it's a little bit different. Another thing to also mention about it is the thermals have been changed. So before, this thing had thermals for the commander. They've removed it, so now it's just NVDs. And then also, the driver had a thermal. Now it only has NVDs too. So that kind of sucks. And generally, it would be nice if it kept it, but it looks like it's got a historical change. The EBRC Jaguar has also changed. Nothing really too bad. It's just concerning its LWS. So this vehicle has one, which means that you can kind of see threats coming in, right? The LWSLR. So it's been changed from the RALM to the Antares. This has less coverage above it, but more coverage below the horizon. So it'll be better against helicopters and also better against tanks, but it'll be worse against aircraft which are coming in. So that's something to also mention. Another thing that's also happened, so you have the carry. This is, of course, the new vehicle which is coming in for Japan. They have completely changed the way that this thing floats and moves. It has a better reverse now, and also should turn a bit better, and they moved its center of gravity, so it should just float better. The Nagato also got some big buffs to its armor, basically moving around some little pieces and changing the way that a lot of it is. You can see the barbettes were probably the biggest affected. These used to be 429mm. They are now 124mm, but everything else has been just moved. So the armor profile has changed, and it is at least a little bit different compared to what you saw before. They also changed the Brestois, or the Brestois, or however you want to see it, the French vehicle. This one also just got changed a lot. So the HB got changed on a lot of the things. Its crew got reorganized around the place. And also at the same time, the camera position was changed just to kind of help it out too. So overall, that's quite nice. The Sea Eagle got moved around too. They've changed some of its factors, not a huge amount. The basic thing about it is they increased its flight range to 110 kilometers an hour, and also the explosive mass is up by 12 kilos. So they'll just be stronger than what they were before, but it won't really affect anything in terms of gameplay. The French, with the EBCR once again, the APF SDS did get changed, not a huge amount, but basically the drag coefficient multiplier got halved, and also the KE penetration got decreased by 2mm. So instead of it being a 159 or 160mm pen thing, it is now a 157mm, which, as I said, doesn't make a huge difference. And then also they changed the HE on it as well, where they changed the explosive type to HMX when before it was composition B. And this means that it has a little bit more HE penetration, 0.4mm more. So huge change in general. They've completely altered the MMP, which is the ATGM, which this thing gets. So you can see all of the general stats here. The guaranteed launch range is now 4 kilometers. And then also everything else has kind of moved around it. So just to let you have a look at the stats, because as I said, they've just completely changed everything about it. And then also other things, they just have some text changes for specific vehicles and also some economy changes, but mainly just to the stuff that they've changed, and it won't affect too many different things. And also new vehicle text, new icon text, and all of those general stuff that have come in too. That's pretty much all of the changes on the dev server. If there are more, I'll make sure to keep you updated. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.